Catching drug traffickers is like keeping up with the Joneses. If the Joneses were heavily armed and up to no good on the high seas. With radar systems, high-speed boats and even submarines at their disposal, the cartels are continually developing new ways to avoid detection. Law enforcement needs something that can keep up and stay under the radar. Something like a high-speed stealth boat. But where'd you get one of those from? Who knows? It's a secret. Between you and me, rural Ireland might be a good place to start. It may be fairly sleepy on land, but off the coast are some of the world's roughest seas. Although that's no problem for the Thunderchild. This is a prototype of the boat squaring up to Storm Doris, which brought 94-mile-an-hour winds to the British Isles. Now, the designers are taking the latest model on a trip right around the Irish coast, powering around the entire 1,250 miles.
Best of luck, guys. Have a good run, okay?
Thunderchild has a top speed of 54 knots, or 62 miles an hour. Its shape allows it to slice through the water.
Most boats and ships have a fairly broad V-shaped bow, which means when a wave runs into them, it lifts the bow up and the ship pitches up and over it. Wave-piercing bows are much more slender, sharper points. So when a wave reaches them, they pierce the wave and push through it rather than up and over it. And that means that instead of the ship rising over the waves, it gets to go in more or less a straight line. That's important for a small ship in big waves because it means it's not being tossed around as much.
And it's got one more trick up its sleeve. The ability to self-right if it capsizes.
The self-righting feature is really interesting. There aren't many boats which can do that. And there's really two important components to that. She has a very low centre of gravity. Most boats, when they roll over to about 120 degrees or thereabouts, they reach what we call their angle of vanishing stability. And that's the point where if you let them go, they won't return to upright. They'll carry on falling over. But Thunderchild doesn't have an angle of vanishing stability. She's stable all the way up to completely upside down. So you can let her go from any angle of roll and she will snap back to upright. The other half of it is that she has a completely watertight cabin. Most ships have what we call downflowing points, which are things like air intakes for ventilation or for the engines. And if those are big holes in the ship, if they go underwater, the water floods in, the ship will flood, and they probably won't recover.
Stealth designs for ships have been around for decades, though mostly restricted to the military. The aim is to reduce a vessel's radar profile as much as possible. When a radar signal is sent out, the reflections that rebound back can tell the operator how big another ship is. By adding lots of angles to your ship, you can bounce much of the radar signal up into the air or down towards the sea, making the vessel appear much smaller. The materials the vessel is constructed out of also make a huge difference.
Because they are made out of a modern carbon fibre material rather than a steel or aluminium material that most boats might be made out of, it means that they don't deflect radar in the same way. And because of the shape of the boat and the angles of the boat, they're more difficult to detect on radar.
It's not enough to be invisible. You also need to be able to see in the dark. So Thunderchild has night vision infrared cameras, radar and GPS, meaning it can operate effectively at night. The most dangerous part of their journey round Ireland through the treacherous waters of Rockall was in the dark, but the technology on board meant that Thunderchild barely had to drop its speed. They circumnavigated the entire coastline in just 30 hours. Traffickers around the world might want to watch out, or maybe we just need to hope they don't get one themselves.